In this video, I'm going to talk about Dark Tomb, Crypts of Aurelian, and share my thoughts about the game. So let's get into this. Welcome to Solitary RPG. Dark Tomb is from Kozz Games, Kozz Games, and is by Andy Brigman. And this is a small little tin game that is a dungeon dive and is just, to me, is just a fun little travel game that you may want to play if you're by yourself or with your friends, because it is 1 to 5 players. It's a 15 to 40 minute game depending on, so it's a dungeon dive. It's got 3 different stages. If you're just doing one stage, it might take you 15 minutes depending on how many people are playing, but you can go through all 3 stages and take a little bit longer. And this is just a fun little game. If you want to know more about the game, you can go to darktomb.com. This game cost me $20, and that's what they're selling them for on their website. There's also a new version or a new game out that is an overland adventure. I did not pick that up when I was at Gen Con. I was just looking for something simple and easy. I do like the little tin games. I do find little small travel games like this to be a lot of fun. The rules are super light, super simple. However, because they're light rules, that opens up some opportunity for you to add some new rules to the game and kind of experiment doing some different things, which is something I enjoy doing. The tin, actually, this is the skull is actually raised, so it's like pressed in here, which is kind of cool. It's not just a cheap, print on the metal tin. They actually raised everything. Even the Dark Tomb is raised, so pretty cool. So if we open this up, you're going to be greeted with the rule book. Rule book will walk you through everything, and might take you 2 minutes to read it, depending if you're really wanting to go slow and read it, or if you're just going to kind of buzz right through it. It's actually stitch bound, which I thought was pretty cool. They didn't just staple bound that. After that, you're going to have a stack of cards. You're going to have a D20. It is a D20 system. And you're going to have all these cubes, and you're going to notice on some of the cubes there's printing, and some of the cubes are just a plain color. So let me get this all unpacked, and we can start getting into this. So now that I've got everything unpacked, let me give you a breakdown of all the components. We'll start with the cubes. You got white cubes, those represent treasure. You have black cubes, these represent monsters or encounters. You're going to notice symbols on them, and the symbols are there to show you what the encounter is. It's just for identifying. You're going to have 3 with print, 3 with no print. So the no print cubes, which you're going to also see with the character cubes, are used for tracking your HP. You're going to have 4 cubes with, one's going to have like a magic vial on it, a sword, an axe, and another sword. These represent the different characters. You can have up to 4 characters in this game. Now, this game does say it's for 1 to 5 players, yet you're going to notice it only has 4 characters. If you have a 5th player, the 5th player can actually play the monsters, so you can do that. Or they can actually be kind of like a mini GM. You're going to have a D20, your rule book, and then you're going to have the cards. The cards on the back are color coded, and you're also going to notice there's a symbol in the center of all the different cards to represent what they are. And in the rule book, they give you a breakdown. You're going to have an intro card, a map tile, items, monsters, starting tile, and completion card. So that's what all the cards are, and you're going to notice first they're color coded, and for the dungeon, as I was saying, you have the 3 different areas of the dungeon or level. You got a 1, 2, and 3. Those Roman numerals are represented here, and I had those backwards because that's how I do things. So you have level 1, 2, and 3, and then these are all your character cards. So that is the breakdown of the components. What we're going to do is we're going to put level 3 and 2 away, and they fit nicely back into the little tin, and we're just going to keep level 1 out. What you're going to want to do is separate your cards. So you got your treasure cards, your starting and completion cards, your encounter cards, and your dungeon tiles. And this dungeon tile with the circle in it, this is your starting dungeon tile. And then we'll take a look at our setup cards. So you have your characters, and each character, you have their name, the symbol, which represents them on the little cube, and all their stats and their HP, a little bit of character art. And each character will have 2 ability cards that go with them. And of course, I have everything a mess. And then you're going to have these a stage card and a character turn card. So these are just little cards you want to keep off to the side for right now. So you want to decide who you're going to play. You can do this a variety of different ways. You can pick up your character cards, and then you can just shuffle them and decide who's going to take you through the adventure if you want to be creative. Or you can build a team, like you just kind of like some of the character art and you kind of just gravitate to whoever you want. There's nothing really special about the character cards. Everything for the character cards, or makes them special, is going to be handled on their ability cards. So we're just going to pick one at random. I don't know. Again, you've got their symbols on it, so you got to kind of close your eyes and let the card... Oh, Odin. So we're going to be Odin. We can set these aside for now. And then we'll take a look at Odin's ability cards. So what you have is you have Battle Axe, Heal, Bolt Strike, and Dash. These are the abilities for Odin, and that's what's going to set Odin apart from, let's say, Draven. He's got Quarterstaff, Shield and Strike, Gust of Fire, and Dash. So they all have some little different things. You're going to see these arrows. They're saying attack types. So this just tells you like straight line, line of sight, multiple targets. So if you have 2 targets, you can hit both of them. Turns corners. So you got a cool little thing. It's a straight attack, but it goes through walls. And then you got multiple targets through a wall. So those are your different attack types. And that's what the symbols mean. So you'll decide what attack you're going to do, and you're going to put your little cube down to represent that. For Odin, I have a heal ability. I can roll, and if I get an 11 through a 20, I heal 1 HP for self or character on adjacent space on one successful use per stage. So a stage is like a turn. And then over here we got Bolt Strike to hit multiple opponents. And then we also have a dash. I can move up to 3 more spaces. So that's basically your character stats. And when you start the game, you're just going to put your cube on the max HP for the character, and you're all done. These now will not be used because we're doing one character. So we'll just set these off to the side. So let's take a look at the encounter cards real fast before we get started. You can see the different symbols, and those are represented on the cubes so that when they're on the board or when they're in the dungeon, you know who is who on that you're fighting, which is a really creative way of doing this. Everybody has an armor class, so the henchmen and the rat swarm have armor class, and so does Odin. It's a D20 system. It's pretty straightforward. My character is going to make a decision on what action they're going to take. So let's say I'm in close combat with the henchmen, and I'm going to do my battle axe. I'm going to put my cube over there. Battle axe gives me a +1. I roll my D20. I rolled a 3. Add my +1. Did I beat the armor class? Nope. So I missed. It's just that simple. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward stuff. Same thing for the encounters. The encounters have an armor class. They get a bonus. Roll your D20. I rolled a 14. +4 is 18. Beats my armor class of 15. Does 2 points of damage. Dunk, dunk. And now Odin is hurt. So that's how that works. But what you're going to see is there's a lot of HP for the encounters, and they got these little white dots. And they're probably just a little bit of a blur on my screen, but for the henchmen, you have a single white dot over the 5, 2 over the 7, 3 over the 9, and 4 over the 11. What that represents is the number of characters. So if you're playing solo, you reduce the HP down to 5. If you have 2 people playing, it's 2, 3, 4. Pretty straightforward. I like that. It's really slick. It actually means they thought about solo play when creating this game. And like most RPGs, what we'll do if we're playing solo sometimes is just reduce the hit points of the encounter. So they kind of built that into the game, which is kind of cool. So these are 2 encounters for this level. That's all we got. I don't know how to mix these up without knowing because I've only got 2, but that's what we do. Now we're going to move on to the dungeon tiles. This is what the dungeons look like. Let me flip everything upright so it's easier to see on camera. The little white squares with the bag are your treasures. So when you reveal one, you put down your treasure, and once you pick it up, you take this cube off the board representing that it's been picked up, because you may not be able to pick up all the treasures and may go back later. Gray walls are not see-through, are not passable, I guess would be a better word. And everything's explained in the terrain in the back. Anyway, gates, water, obstacles, walls, and ground. You can only walk on the ground, obstacles block you, walls block you, all that kind of stuff. But you can walk on the spaces with the treasure. And once a monster is revealed and it moves away, you can walk on that space. Like any other type of board game, you can't move through encounters. You can't stop on top of another party member, all that great stuff. Pretty straightforward things. Yeah, and that's what happens. So in this, we have 2 encounters. So when you draw your encounter, whatever symbol you draw, you will put on that space. Simple game. And that's what I liked about this game. It wasn't super complicated. It wasn't super hard. And it really fit where I was at the moment. I was looking for something I could play in a basement, so it needed to have a small footprint. I didn't want to play an RPG. I just wanted to have a little bit of fun, entertain myself, and this actually fit the bill. And because the rules are super light, it really opened me up to some different thought processes and things to think about on how I can make changes to the game to add a little bit more complexity to it that fits my gaming style. So, pretty cool. So, we're done there. This is our starting card, and what you'll do with this is spin it, stop it, and place it down. And when you flip it, this is where the characters start on the board. So for right now, we'll just set that aside. So now we're going to talk about these 2 cards. These are player aid cards to remind you of the rules. We'll first take a look at the character turn. During a player's turn, a character can move and take an action. And these are the actions you can take. You can also resolve as many free actions as possible based on where your character's at. So you can reveal a dungeon tile. So if you're next to a dungeon tile, you can reveal it. You can pick up items, or you can pass an item to another player character. So that is everything a character can do. A stage turn. So what a stage turn is you have someone who's going to start. So they actually have rolling for initiative to get the game started. Roll the d20. Whoever rolls the highest goes first. And they set this card off to the right of them, because the stage turn card is actually when the dungeon, the encounters and the dungeon actually take their action. So then you go around the board, and then when you come back to the stage turn, you resolve these. If you're playing solo, you take your character's turn and then you do the stage turn. It's pretty simple. You roll for a seismic event. So this is the dungeon attacking you, and you roll a d20, and on a 19 or a 20, all characters take 1 point of damage. Monsters do not take any damage. And then you have the monster's turn. They move and they attack. Pretty simple. If they get adjacent to you, unless they have range values, but if they get adjacent to you, they attack. Then you're going to see this little note on the bottom. 1 to 5 on an attack, flees 4 spaces away. So the monsters have kind of a built-in response. If they roll low on a 1 to 5 on the d20, I rolled a 20. Let's say I rolled a 3. They would just move 4 spaces back, fleeing, and then it gives me an opportunity to either charge back in for the attack, or I can flee away. So it kind of gives you that opportunity to break up combat. Yeah, so that's that. So we're just going to put this card off to the side, and now we're ready to set up and play the game. So what you're going to start with is reading your little Chamber of Decay little flavor text to get you started. You descend into a cold, dark chamber divided by enormous stone walls. A rancid odor of ancient decay hangs in the air. You advance cautiously, and suddenly, movement in the shadows catches your eye. Little flavor text, but this shows you basically how to set up your dungeon. So this is the dungeon setup. The little dot right there is your starting dungeon tile. So what you're going to do is just take your 4 cards. We kind of shuffled them up, but we're going to lay them all down just like this. Spin, that went off screen. Spin your first tile so you don't know where your character is going to start, and we're good to go. One of the rules in the instructions is when you flip cards, I'm just going to use this as an example, you go from the top and you flip to the bottom, just like that. So there's consistency in how you're flipping your cards. It's really up to you if you want to do that or not. You can flip them however you want, but I like the fact that they're added some of that nuance. So we flip from the top to the bottom, and this shows where our character starts. So the Odin starts way over there. So we go back to our character card. We can move and we can take an action. So we move according to the little footsteps. So we got 6 spaces. And in order to reveal a tile, I have to be adjacent to it so I can reveal it. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I take an action. I take my 3rd blue cube and I'm going to put it on dash, which is going to give me 3 more steps. 1, 2, 3. So that's the end of my turn. And then it's going to pass over to the stage turn, and we're going to roll for a seismic event. I rolled a 1, so nothing happens because a seismic event only happens on a 19 to 20. And then we're going to go to the monster's turn. There are no monsters on the board to react. So this is one of the reasons why you may not want to just go reveal all your tiles real fast. You may want to take your time and reveal them slowly so that you can have time to fight them, especially playing solo. All right, so that's the end. I'll clear the board because I've already taken my action. All right, so now it's time for my next turn, and we're kind of in a little bit of a situation where we need to talk about movement. So movement from space to space can be in any direction but not diagonal. So you cannot move diagonally in this game. You can only move forwards, backwards, up, and down, a lot like Warhammer Quest. Characters can pass through characters, but not monsters. Monsters can pass through monsters, but not characters. Neither can end their movement on a space occupied by a character or monster. And then that ends the movement action. So there's no other conversation regarding movement at that point. So the question comes, can I move a space, take an action, revealing a card, and then continue my movement? You would have to decide that rule on your own. This is where these rule light systems kind of are cool, is you can kind of modify things to fit your play style. I've been playing it in chunks. You do your movement, then you do your action, and that's it. Because to me, I think that is how the rules are written. But if you wanted to play around with it a little bit, that's up to you. That's what makes these little games fun and gives you an opportunity to explore some different things. So we're going to go ahead and say we're going to do my movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to stop right there. That's the end of my movement phase. Now I'm going to take my action phase. So now I got to decide what my action is. I'm going to choose my dash. Now it doesn't say like actions. You have free actions and actions. So I think you can intermix them. I'm next to a tile, so we're going to flip a tile from up to down. And then I'm going to take my action to give me 3 more steps. But first, we're going to populate this dungeon tile. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, moving towards that treasure. There are no monsters in this particular space. So now we go to the stage turn. We roll for the seismic event. I rolled an 8. There is no seismic event. There are no monsters to move. So now we clear and we continue going. And this is how the game continues to run. Once we get over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and picking up an item is a free action. And to get an item, you must be on the space with the item. So Being next to it does not allow me to pick it up. So if I go to the dash movement, I can take that item, 1, 2, 3. So I have the item. I pick up the item from my card. I have a spear. It's got range 1 to 4 straight ahead. If I use it alone, it does 1 damage. If I use it with fire, it does 3 damage. Use in place of an action, automatically hit to 1 monster, discard after use. So we basically got a free hit spear that can do 1 damage, and if I get the fire, which is another piece of equipment, I'll have 3 damage. So that ends that, and since I can take as many free actions as I want, I can also flip this. So we're kind of narrowing this down. I know I have two encounters. They're both going to be in there. So we're going to go grab that piece of equipment and all that. It ends my turn. We do the seismic event. We did 4, nothing, no monsters. And we're going to continue. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick this up, get the other. Now I have the fire. This goes with the spear, which is a cool combo equipment thing. And then we're going to get up here. So we're going to have our encounter. So I want to just kind of move this along a little bit so that way you can kind of get a better idea of what's going on. So our monster encounter is the rat swarm, which is the little triangle. So we ended our turn. Let's say we got to here, we ended our turn. We do the seismic event, which I rolled a 6, so no seismic event. Now the monsters go. So the monsters have movement of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, they're right in line with me. And then they can attack. So the rat swarm, we're playing solo, only have 2 HP. They have a +3 to their attack. They attack straight on and do 1 point of damage. So you roll your d20, 15 plus 3 is 18. They do a point of damage to me. So I go down, and that's that. Then it would be my turn. We could do, like, I could just literally take these guys out with the spear and fire because it's an automatic hit. And since I have the spear with fire, it does 3 points of damage. They have 2 points of damage. Be done with it. Now we do have Bolt Strike, but it has a range of 3 to 5. So the way I interpret that is the encounter has to be 3 to 5 ranges away, because that would have been cool to do because it would do 2 points of damage. But all I can do is my battle axe or my spear. And I don't want to waste my spear on something as small as a rat swarm. I'd rather waste the spear on something important, because this is just phase 1 and I got this really cool piece of equipment. As you know, stage 2 is going to get harder and stage 3 is going to get harder. So why waste this on a rat swarm? Let's just do good old-fashioned combat. My action is going to be a battle axe. So I got a +1. 7 plus 1 is 8. I don't beat the armor class. That ends my turn. Now, there is nothing in this rule book for you leaving combat. Only encounters can leave combat, and they have to roll terribly like that. And then they go back 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and that's the only way to break combat. I have not found any other way in the rules to do that. You could take that same concept of rolling a 1 to 5 when you attack to break combat, or you just leave it like that, and that's the only way to disengage from combat. So, and that's basically how this game works, is you're just kind of rolling through each card, you know, exposing everything, collecting the treasures. The only other 2 treasures is we have a transport. You can use this to transport to Amy's space on a revealed tile, which is kind of cool. And then you gotta heal 1 HP. It's a free action. Can heal yourself or an adjacent character. And that's phase 1. And then as you continue to play the game, you're gonna get, you know, different dungeon tiles. Like this one has a key, so you have to find the key before you can open up certain treasures. And then you're gonna have different treasures and encounters, and obviously a different starting. So this one sets the dungeon up differently. You got a different little bit of flavor text, but you got your spiders, your mummy, and then you have your keys for opening up things. You get a hammer, crossbow, and a trident. So that just kind of expands it further. And then you get into stage 3. You know, this dungeon starting tile gives you a piece of treasure to start right off with, but here you're going to introduce some water, and then everything's pretty much the same. No keys, but you got to figure out how to deal with the water, which is probably going to be something in your treasures that you have to find. You got an iron ball, chains, handle. Oh, boards. I wonder what you use boards for. Probably getting into water. And then shift. So you can actually change your tile. So that's pretty cool. That is a kind of a quick overview of Dark Tomb. And once you finish your tomb, you've got a little bit of flavor text that you'll read. Kind of once you've read everything, you're not really going to read it again. Now, I dig this. This is just a cool little game that you can play. Like I said, when on the road or with your family, you're trying to do something small. Maybe you have a small space that you play on. This kind of fits the bill for that, because these are like 2.5 by 2.5 inch cards, so they don't take up much room. And that's kind of it. But you can customize this game quite a bit. You can take any of the other dungeon rooms and kind of create your own custom dungeon. You can mix everything together and make one big dungeon. You can just go nuts with this, because the rules are obviously written for this style of play, but you can just kind of do whatever you want. That's what I love about playing games, is taking something with a rule light system like this and making more out of it, adding my own rules to it, but maybe disengaging from combat. You could also create your own little encounter chart if you wanted to. So instead of flipping the card and taking whatever, maybe you roll a d20 and you go through all of the encounters, kind of like a bestiary, and you just, whatever you roll you can create. You could really get creative in creating for this game. You could do the same thing for the treasures. Maybe you just roll and they're listed in a chart and that's what you get. That's up to you. Would make the combo one a little bit hard to get, but fun stuff. I love these little games. It really opens up your creativity of adding those rules, but just playing it as written, it is a fun little travel game, something you are going to take on the road with you on vacation or work trips or something like that. And you're just sitting in the hotel waiting for something to happen. You just break one of these out, no time to set up, and you're just going. And you could actually have fun with your family with this, because it's not a super crunchy system. You're all trying to accomplish the same thing of getting through the adventure, getting the treasure, beating the monsters, and moving on to the next stage, and working together to beat some of the bigger monsters. Obviously, the first level is pretty simple, but that rat swarm, if you had 4 people playing, would be 8 HP. And as you can tell with these armor classes and such low bonuses given to your characters, it will take some time and the combat will get complicated, and you'll need more people to help. So I like it. It's fun, and I really enjoyed it. For a $20 purchase, something I can just throw in my bag when I'm on the go, it fits the bill. So thank you for watching and have a great day.